Okay, first off, let me start off by saying this is the third time that I'm starting to make this video because I keep getting calls, so I just had to put my phone on do not disturb. So obviously this video is for somebody, so I hope this encouragement, because it's a word of encouragement, I hope it really encourages you. So I'm starting over for the third time. The Most High has been speaking to me about, or he was speaking to me about this morning, and telling me to put this video out. Basically is, when you are standing in faith for something, when you are believing God for something and you may have gotten a word from God, right? It is important that you guard your ear gates. It's important that you guard your eye gates, and it's important that you guard your tongue. And when I say guard your tongue, is you are not speaking words that go against the very thing that you're standing in faith for, or goes against the very thing that God has said. And sometimes what happens is, and I know it sounds like, of course, like, why would I do that? But it's easy to. You get a word from God, you know, and you know, at the time when you get it, you're like super excited, you're claiming that thing, you're speaking the word, your words are in agreement with the thing that God said, and then you go back to your everyday life, right? Because oftentimes, and you know, it doesn't always happen like this, but a lot of times it happens like this. You get a word and then you go through process until that thing manifests, right? So during that processing time, there's a lot of other things that I was trying to find, you know, a good word or a good way to say this, but there's other things that happen. It could just be like your day-to-day life. You go back to work, you go back to taking care of the household, you go back to being mom, to being dad, whatever the case may be, grandmama, whoever it is, you know, whatever your role is, you go back to that. And then life continues to happen. Sometimes circumstances arise, issues arise, and it's like, and it's not always that it's a bad thing, but sometimes it's just not, it's no longer looking like what God said will be. And so what happens is, although we don't do it purposely all the time, we get caught up in conversation or even on our own frustration, and we're just like, man, I don't see how this is going to happen, or this isn't making sense. I mean, and then we start to waver, right? We doubt, well, maybe I didn't really hear that from God, well, maybe that's not what he meant, etc., etc., etc. I can go on and on and on. And we begin to speak words that are canceling out our faith, because the words don't necessarily cancel out what God says, but it cancels out our faith. And our faith is what is required to please God. I'm not going to say it's required to make things manifest, because we know that God can do whatever, and he does. But faith is the currency of the kingdom of heaven, right? So you need your faith in order to really, you need your faith to pull on the things of God that he's doing for you and he's going to do in your life, right? So we start speaking things that's canceling out our faith, you know, and now we're being discouraged, you know. Or the other thing, the reason why I said guard your ear gate, is because we begin to engage in conversations. And so what happens is, we start talking to people, and it could even be the people that you deal with spiritual matters, you know. But just because you have spiritual counsel, and just because people are God-fearing people, and they're people that, you know, may hear from the Lord and everything else or whatever, just because they may have all of that, but sometimes it is God spoke something to you, and it's sometimes that it's something for you to stand on, and everybody else may not see it. Everybody else does not have the revelation. So although their heart may be in the right place, they still may not be giving you the right words. They may not be giving you the right counsel, and it's not malicious intent. It's just they don't have the revelation. They don't have the promise. So sometimes you're talking to people, and what's going to come out of them is natural answers or responses, if for a lack of better words. It's natural talk. It's a carnal mindset talk. Although, like I said, the intentions are not malicious. You are standing in faith for something, and your faith says, this is what you told me, God. I don't know how you're going to do it, that's not on me to worry about, because you're not God. I'm not God. I'm not going to get in God's business. All I'm saying is I'm standing with my faith on what you told me. Now, here you are with your faith trying to encourage yourself, because it's hard enough for you to encourage yourself with this, because things already don't seem like it's going to add up. It already doesn't seem like what God said will be just by what you see in the natural. And then you start having conversations with people, and they can be encouraging you as well. But even in their encouragement, sometimes they only have natural insight to give. And like I said, it's not malicious, but you still need to guard your ear gate from it, because if it doesn't align with what God said, I don't care who you're talking to. I don't care how spiritual they are. I don't care how much they speak to the Lord. I don't care how much time they sit in prayer and sit in devotion time and all of that. If what they are saying does not align with what God said to you, you need to block it. That's the bottom line. And you don't have to be rude, and you don't have to be nasty, and you don't have to be like, I'm not hearing this, and you don't know what do. You could let them, politely in the conversation, like, or just politely stop it with a, well, God can do anything. First of all, it annoys people. And I'm not saying say it to annoy people, but say it to guard yourself. Who cares about how they feel? Like I said, you don't have to be nasty, and you don't have to be rude, but it is on you to guard your ear gate, and to guard your eye gates, and to guard your tongue when you are standing on faith for something that God has promised in your life. When you and God are in agreement with something, you may not know how it's going to work out. It may not even seem like it's going to be able to work out or whatever. Like I said, that is God's business. Your stance is, I'm standing on your word, and that's it. I'm not going to be moved. I'm not going to speak things that cancel out my faith. I'm not going to speak things that are not in agreement with the same thing that you spoke over me. Don't let it come out of your mouth. I don't care if something happens, something come up, you got to roll your eyes. You may have to huff and puff. Do not let the words come out of your mouth, and limit your conversation with people who do not have the same understanding or the same revelation. And sometimes it's a matter of faith, honestly. Like, the bottom line is, the word says that he takes us from faith to faith and glory to glory, or glory to glory and faith to faith, or something like that. We go from levels to levels. We know that, right? Everybody is not on your level. And I'm not saying that in the sense, you know how the world be like, oh, get on my level. I'm not saying it in that sense. I'm saying that some people have a different measure of faith, and your measure of faith is not the next person's measure of faith, and you don't know that. You don't know what their measure of faith is. If they are not in agreement with what the Lord is saying, what the Most High is saying, in the conversation, and be done with it. Anyway, I'm done with this, actually. So be encouraged. I hope this encourages you guys. Like I said, stand on the word, stand in faith. Only you and God know what you and God are in agreement with. I mean, and whoever else you tell. But only God really knows how these things are going to come forth, and how he's going to manifest things. And all you're doing is waiting for the manifestation, and you're waiting in faith. So you got to make sure you're in agreement with it. That's it. Be encouraged. Bye.